Right. So this piece is mid-April 2016. So this piece is about. I'm just trying to do something with the iPad. Pardon me. With this iPad, and this iPad is version 4 iPad. And the iTunes version I've got on my PC is 12.3.3.17, which is the latest version as of early April. It superseded another version that wasn't actually that old. And what I tried to do on the iPad was synchronize it. Now, Apple's iTunes program, I hate to state the flaming obvious, but if what your program is meant to do, as I understand it, being somebody who's come from the PC world and only recently, in the past few years, got an iPad when the iPad 4 came out, if the iTunes program is meant to back up the iPad and is meant to make sure that the apps are up to date, and is meant to enable certain other things like buying tunes off online from Apple's shop and stuff. Okay. I wish it would just say that instead of making you kind of guess at what they mean. So I'll tell you I'll start this off by saying the thing that the iTunes did wrong today. First, what the previous version of iTunes just 2 weeks ago couldn't do was show my relatively expensive £35 Auria Pro music app. At 35 quid, that's a lot of money for an iPad app. I mean, most of them are a dollar or a euro or a couple of dollars or euros, under a fiver in whatever denomination you like. But 30 odd quid, that's a lot. So when they charge that, you expect something decent, and you certainly expect the iTunes app, it's just slightly squint and it's annoying me. You certainly expect the iTunes app to see that the iTunes program, on your PC or in your Mac. You certainly expect that to be able to see this expensive app, and for some reason it didn't. So 2.5 weeks ago, that is, with the previous version of iTunes, the iTunes program didn't even see my expensive Audio Pro app, and let alone show me the music tracks or whatever that were in it. And I'm not saying there's anything great there, but I'd like to see my £35 app appear in the backup system. Anyway, with the new versions come out just a week or so ago of iTunes, the new program, 12.3.3.17, that is cured. Okay, so now I can see my expensive app, and now it looks as though all the apps are actually there, which they weren't before, no matter how long you left it. So I'm trying to back up or whatever, synchronize. Yeah, that's another great word. What the heck does synchronize mean? I mean, I know what it means. Synchronize to me means you have one thing, you have another thing. They're different setups for some reason, and you make them both the same. Yes, that I understand. But it doesn't actually tell me as a user, is it going to synchronize the iTunes program to my iPad? Or is it going to synchronize my iPad to the iTunes program? Is it going to delete stuff somewhere and put stuff in somewhere else? Now, you can get away with the word synchronize or synchronization or sync if the program absolutely is trustworthy and does lots of useful things. Yeah? And if there's nothing you can do that's harmful through using it, and it's completely benign and it all works. Okay, now, here's just a small thing that is maybe a small thing to you, small thing to me, but it's a view right into the heart of Apple. Apple is chaotic, and I'm not sure I mean that in a good way. Chaotic sounds to some people like creative, like anarchic is what you apply to a workplace that's artistic and creative. Okay, if that's what it is. But Steve Jobs, R.I.P., rest in peace, he seemed to, despite having been a salesperson, he seemed to perform a large amount of quality control. A lot of people have said this. That's nothing new. I'm not saying anything new there or contentious. So okay, so I go to do the synchronization job. iTunes spends about 3 or 4 or 5 minutes thinking about it, going through stage one of whatever, 7 or 8. Finally, it comes up and says, uh, "You it needs," it says, 2 megabytes. I'm not misreading it. It needs 2 megabytes, it says, of space, and it tells me my iPad 4 only has 1.69 gigabytes, available. This is exactly what it said. It said it needed a little pop-up dialog box came up on my PC from iTunes, and it said it needs 2 megabytes of space, and I've only got 1.69 gigabytes. Okay, so it's an order of 1024. I mean, it's a whole order different. It's 1024 times wrong. You could say it's nothing. You could say it's a typo. But look, I've made programs, a very few, and some of them not very good. I only made one that was ever any good. And I spent 3 back-breaking months, finger-scraping months on it. Knuckle-busting months. But it was... a mistake like that is so chaotic and so basic and stupid that, to me, you wouldn't let that through unless you were doing your own quality control, you were up late that night, and you had to just get the thing bashed out. Okay? So, that gives you a view right into the heart of Apple. Apple Corp are really all over the place. They miss Steve Jobs pretty badly. I mean, Apple have done other things that's a bit strange. My Apple iPad. This is the iPad 4. And I got something written on it. What did I get? Yeah, I thought I was being clever. I got LOL put on the cover. And then I got engraved on this LOL squared, which I thought was clever at the time. People still say LOL. Anyway, I was about to buy the version 3. And then I was thinking about it for 2 months and researching it, and then bang, the version 4 came out. Oh, well, that was lucky. That was lucky I took so long to think about it. Would that I'd only taken another few months to think about it, I'd have been able to get a version 4 with 128 gigabytes of memory instead of 64 gigabytes of memory. But I didn't know that. Milk, the drink of champions. So, they do have a habit of releasing stuff in a weird way, and it looks chaotic, and they have these simple, stupid little mistakes. So here I am trying to update my programs, because the Wi-Fi, I try to do it with the lack of memory I've got, which is not my fault, that's Apple's, for keeping on releasing stuff, and having far too little memory available at the time. And I keep on trying to update it, or back up, and synchronize, and so I'm having to delete apps. Now, there's a great term come up recently, which is, everyone's talking about how Muslims, that particular religion, decry apostates. I didn't even know what an apostate was till all this erupted. Anyway, an apostate is somebody who leaves the religion. If you delete some apps, in terms of iTunes, you become an apostate. You've dared to delete some apps. Obviously, you've done it to make room. What iTunes program then tells you is, oh, it's over capacity now. Yes, I deleted some apps because everything was getting too big. And it comes back and says, I can't synchronize, sorry, I can't update all your other apps because you've got some apps missing. And if I were to synchronize, iTunes is saying 12.3.3.17, the latest version in mid-April 2016 is saying, I can't synchronize because you haven't got enough space. And you think to yourself, well, okay, synchronize the stuff I've got that there is space for. Look on my iPad, see what there is, and just please synchronize that. Update that with what I've now updated on the iTunes program on my PC. It won't do that. Well, why not? Why does it have to update everything or nothing? What's this overcapacity thing? I've obviously deleted stuff, right? Why am I now an apostate to not be dealt with? So basically the iTunes program will select whether you are somebody who has deleted apps or not. And if you've deleted apps and you've got no space, in its imaginary world where all your apps were present, then it won't do the synchronization job. What on earth makes them think that it's not possible I would buy apps that are no good, it's not possible I'd run out of space because of Apple's stupid tiny memory situation, and it's not possible I then want to update the remaining apps that I do actually value and are still on the iPad, and that I have got space for on the iPad. Why wouldn't I want to do that? But in Apple's weird little closeted blinkered world, that's not how it works. So customer, tough luck. I mean, that is ridiculous. Here's the program I used to do, and I wouldn't make the mistake of mistaking megabytes for gigabytes, okay? So this is the program I used to do. There was a system that, in order to define a curve on the system, it would have a very complicated way of doing that because that's a super smooth curve. So some people wanted lots of little super smooth curves that represent little pictures of things. It was telephones and things and facilities in a company, like Apple or anywhere. And so my program did that, and it approximated it to straight lines. And you could change parameters, which basically would say, how bad can I make this? Can I make it as bad as that? Just 2 straight lines now, yeah? So 2 big straight lines to pretend to be a curve. Or is that going too far? And that's all my program did. It took a load of programming to do it. And I did my own quality control. But I didn't mistake megabytes for gigabytes. And that shows you right into the heart of Apple. This is not some backstreet corporation. I'm beginning to get the feeling that Apple's a much better place to work at than to buy from. So, Apple, smack. Get your act together. It's really, really poor show. Thanks for watching and listening.